Hey, good evening, y'all.
Good evening.
I'll go ahead and begin reading the meeting norms. Today, we're all abiding by the CDC and the governor's guidelines for gatherings given the public health emergency under the circumstances and in accordance with Act 302, allowing for public agencies to conduct meetings by telephone conference or video conference. Please note the following meeting norms before we formally get started. This meeting is being recorded for public meeting purposes. If you wish to make official public comment online regarding an item on the Orleans Parish School Board meeting agenda, please submit an e-public comment card. For smartphone users, you can scan the QR code displayed on the screen now, prior to the start of this meeting, or within 30 minutes after the meeting begins. The meeting moderator will announce the speaker at the appropriate time. The speaker is to self-identify with the raise your hand feature at the bottom of the web page, and the meeting moderator with your audio. To comment on, please see public go.boards.com/LA/NOPS/board.nsf/public prior to the start of the meeting or within minutes after the meeting begins. The meeting moderator will announce the speaker at the appropriate time. The speaker is again to self-identify, but with the raise your hand feature, but by dialing *6, and the meeting moderator will unmute your audio. The speaker should state his or her name and address for the record. Public comments are limited to 2 minutes pursuant to school board policy. Any messages sent by the chat and/or Q&A functions will be noted in the record but will not be read as live public comment during this meeting. If you need further instructions on how to make official public comment at today's meeting, those may be found at go.boarddocs.com/LA/NOPS/board.nsf/public, located on the same page where the agenda is typically posted. Board members, your lines are muted upon joining this broadcast. At roll call, to make a comment, make a motion, second a motion, or to cast your roll call vote, please unmute yourself. The audio button is located in the bottom left corner of your screens. Every action item will be a roll call vote to ensure we are recording the vote appropriately. Please remember to mute your line when you are not speaking for a clearer broadcast. And with that, I will yield to the board president.
Thank you, Board Counsel Williams. I'm going to call to order the Orleans Parish School Board business meeting for October 22nd, 2020. The time now is 5:33 p.m. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Ashley.
Here.
Mr. Brown.
Here.
Ms. Ellison.
Here.
Ms. Jackson. Mr. Koppel.
Present.
Mr. Marshall.
Here.
Ms. Newell Houston.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Interpretation services are available during today's meeting. At this time, I'll yield to our interpreters.
Thank you very much. Good evening to everyone. This is Rebecca Fleming. I'll be interpreting into Spanish for you tonight. Muy buenas tardes a todos. Si hay alguien que quiere escuchar esta audiencia en español, pueden marcar el 978-990-5000, código de acceso 707717 numeral. Repito, el número es 978-990-5000, código de acceso 707717 numeral. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Việt Quyên Pham. I am a Vietnamese interpreter. Xin chào toàn thể quý vị, tôi tên là Việt, tôi là thông dịch viên. Tôi sẽ thông dịch cho quý vị tối nay nếu quý vị cần. Xin quý vị gọi điện thoại ở số 504-975-4967. Xin chân thành cảm ơn quý vị. At this time, I would like to yield back to the board president, Mr. Ashley.
Thank you so much. Let's move to 1.2, Pledge of Allegiance. At this time, we'll have a previously recorded, I guess, an assessment of our students who took, who actually recorded the Pledge of Allegiance for, I believe it was done during the morning at Berman. And so looking forward to hearing these young students. At this time, also board members, can we mute our lines and just follow along with them just to make sure that the audio is clear?
Good morning. My name is Rajani Smith, and I'm in Miss K. Lewis's second grade homeroom class. Will you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's so cute. Let's move to 1.3, adoption of the agenda. Do we have any additions, deletions, or modifications at this time to the agenda?
We do.
Okay.
We have action item 4.14. The recommended action that is reflected on the agenda is what the committee of the whole passed onto the full board, but there was an error in the identification of the surety that is being discussed there. Instead of the Hanover Insurance Group, it is Travelers. Let me give you the official name. The full name is Travelers Casualty and Surety Company of America.
Company of America.
I'd like to move that we adopt the agenda, and I have a proposed consent agenda that we consent on items 4.1, 4.2, 4.4, and then items 4.6 through 4.13.
I'll second that motion.
So we have a motion and a second for the agenda as amended in terms of consent agenda, as well as item 4.14.
Correct.
We do have some public comment cards on this item.
The first speaker is Colette Tippy. State your name and address for the record, please.
Sure, it's Colette Tippy, 2714 Canal Street, Suite 302, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70119. Good evening, board. I wanted to comment on this because we now have all grades back for in-person learning in New Orleans schools, but there doesn't seem to be an item on this agenda that's related to the implementation of the roadmap to reopening. So it's been good to see the efforts being made to increase transparency related to COVID in schools now that students are back in classrooms. But I have some questions for the board. Perhaps the superintendent can address them in his remarks. Are Bessie charter schools reporting their case numbers to OPSB, or only OPSB authorized charter schools and direct-run schools? Why does the case tracker only show current cases and not provide any historical data? The tracker has two percentages, the percent positive cases and the percent quarantined. What are those percentages of? Are those percentages of people who are in the classroom? Are they percentages of everyone? Are they based on, actual testing? The tracker doesn't appear to identify if there's been any spread of COVID inside of school buildings. Is there a reason for that? It's my understanding that at least one school has had to switch back to all virtual for a period of time because of not having enough staffing in the school to conduct classes in person. Is that something that will be reported publicly? What process should people follow if they have concerns about guidelines not being followed or enforced inside of school buildings in New Orleans? What process will OPSB and NOLA Public Schools use to hold schools accountable if they are not following those guidelines? Some schools appear to believe that 6 feet between students who are not in static groups is optional or to the greatest extent feasible. If there are too many students in a classroom to keep this distance, what should be happening? And finally, when there are teachers moving between different static groups, what guidelines are in place to ensure that they are not transmitting COVID among all classes that they are entering? Thank you.
The next speaker is Lauren Jouett.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
Lauren Jewett, 604 Sadie Avenue, Metairie, Louisiana, 70003. Good evening, board. I serve as an elementary special education teacher. I am very grateful that we were allowed to begin our school year with a virtual start to ensure the safety of our students, our staff members, and our education community. As an elementary teacher, I was part of the first group of teachers to return to school in person with students, although some of my students continue to learn virtually. Now that we're just past 2 weeks into many of our middle school and high school students returning in person, we know that many of our schools are doing different things to ensure that everyone in buildings remain safe and continue learning. From my experience so far, I feel that teachers are definitely rising to the occasion with implementation of different guidelines, but so much is being asked of our educators in the building. So much is being asked of our teachers, of our administrators, of all the support staff. And even if it feels unmanageable and unrealistic and unsafe, we are doing it, but we wonder how long this is really truly sustainable for with all of our own health. And we know that continued transparency and accountability for the public, as well as avenues to report concerns, are definitely needed. Some exist within school sites and some do not. And I would like to make the suggestion that as the school board, that we have a standing item moving forward on every agenda that would be open for public comment on how this implementation is going in our schools. This is a public health situation for all of our school communities. We share space among every spot in our community. And we need a mechanism in place to hear from the people in school buildings. That includes students, teachers, and school staff. And it has to be on an ongoing basis about how this implementation in schools is truly going. Thank you.
Any other comments?
That's the last comment card.
Thank you.
Board.
Board Council Williams, can you, for the record, just again state the pieces that will be a part of the consent agenda?
Yes, it's 4.1, 4.2, 4.4, 4.6 through 4.13.
Perfect. Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second with those amendments to the agenda. If no other questions from the board, we'll call. Mr. Ashley.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Ms. Ellison.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Koppel.
Yes.
Mr. Marshall.
Yes.
Ms. Newell Houston.
Yes.
That item passes. We're at 2.1. It is recommended that the Orleans Parish School Board adopts the minutes of the September 17th, 2020 board business meeting, September 17th, 2020 public hearing roll forward capital repairs millage, and September 22nd, 2020 public hearing charter renewal presentations. May I have a motion?
So move with the waiving of the reading of the minutes.
Is there a second? We have a motion by Mr. Koppel, a second by Mr. Ashley. Do we have any public comments?
No.
Any questions from the board? Roll call vote. Mr. Ashley.
Yes.
Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown.
Yeah. Yes.
Ms. Ellison.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Koppel.
Yes.
Mr. Marshall.
Yes.
Ms. Newell Houston.
Yes.
The minutes are adopted. We're at item 3.
Thank you. Before we move to item 3, I just would like to take a moment to express some of our sympathies for our most recent losses in terms of our education community. I mean, 2020 has been a year of much loss, and we've had to come together as a community to support each other through these times. Tonight, I'd really like to start by honoring the lives of several special members of our community. Over the past few weeks, we were deeply saddened to learn about the passing of 2 students, one from Lusher Charter School and the other from Landry Walker High School. Our thoughts and prayers are with the students, families, staff at both of these schools. We also want to honor Phyllis Landry, former Orleans Parish School Board President and education advocate. During her lifetime, Ms. Landry was a powerful presence, not just on the school board, but in the many leadership roles in which she served. We are thankful for all of her contributions to the public school system, and we pray for her family's strength during this difficult time. Mr. Nat LaCour is no different. He spent more than 25 years as the president of the United Teachers of New Orleans, UTNO, and later became the executive vice president of the American Federation of Teachers. During his tenure, he ensured that UTNO was a strong organization that championed the work of educators. And at this time, I'm asking if you would join me in a moment of silence in honor of all of those who we recently lost. Thank you. I just also want to talk very briefly about Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I have on my pink this evening in support of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. As many of you all may know, I serve as a co-chair of the Susan G. Komen New Orleans Race for the Cure. My mother had a scare with breast cancer. My mother-in-law is a survivor. And you know, many races this fall are going virtual, and things have definitely changed, but we just want to remind you to get out there and support as best you can. For we know those who are current survivors and those who are newly diagnosed, you know, they're going through the fight, and they're not going through the fight alone. In this community, particularly OPSB, we have many of survivors, and we continue to stand with you, and we'll continue to be in support. With that said, I would like to turn the meeting over to Superintendent Lewis for his superintendent's agenda.
Board President, I have a personal privilege.
Please.
I just want to admonish the public to get tested. I know that there are several organizations, especially hospitals, that are offering mammograms not only for women but also for men. I think this is a crucial time to take advantage of the opportunity to get tested during this time. Cancer has probably affected so many people in our families and in our circle, and even some of us. So I would admonish people to take advantage of being tested during this month of October, when there's so many opportunities being given, especially the discounts for testing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from my colleagues? If not, I'm going to yield to the superintendent for the superintendent's agenda.
Thank you, President Ashley. And good evening, everyone. Good evening, board members and members of the public. And before I get into my report, I just want to echo what has been said in terms of the loss of life that has been recognized this evening, and continue to ask our community to pray for all those families and school communities that have been impacted. And even as it was mentioned about Breast Cancer Awareness Month and the early detection, you know, that is definitely key as we all work here, as we even think about COVID-19, preserving life, I should say. And so again, I just want to echo those words that have been shared thus far this evening. I'd like to start my report by saying I'm so proud of the way our NOLA PS community has come together in a major way throughout this pandemic. 6 months ago, we were closing our schools because COVID-19 and quickly preparing to end the school year with distance learning. Today, for the first time since the spring, our schools are open for in-person learning for grades pre-K through 12th grade. Over these past several weeks, I've had the opportunity to visit students and staff at several of our schools across the district. Watching students light up as they reunite with teachers and friends as they return to the classroom for the first time in months has filled me with incredible joy, I must say. And I have been blown away by the efforts of our school community to get back to school in the safest way possible. This is a major milestone for our district, but of course, none of this would have been possible without the tireless effort of our community members, teachers, students, staff, and our principals. Next, there are several groups of special people that I want to highlight tonight for their service to our students and our school community. This month, NOLA Public Schools started a new tradition of celebrating staff members for their years of service to the district. We kicked off this new tradition by celebrating staff members' milestone in honor of their service anniversary with the district and presented them with a NOLA PS lapel pin. At this time, I'd like to share a video recognizing staff members for over 20 years of service to NOLA Public Schools.
I love the kids. I love giving the kids healthy meals every day, daily, because sometimes we don't know how much that kid has consumed outside of child nutrition. So for us to get there and to give them something that they can indulge in means everything to me.
What I love about what I do is we are a family here and we are here for the children. And I'm NOLA proud.
When they can come back and say, well, oh, who cooked that good meal, you know? So that's what keep me, you know, going and cooking and, you know, everything for the children. And I am NOLA proud.
It makes me feel like I'm part of what I'm doing and I'm family. And it's all about family with me. So that's what makes me come back, and I'm NOLA proud.
Why I like working for the district is because we are all inclusive, and I am NOLA proud.
They love that I'm an officer, and they want to grow up and be just like me, to take care of them and make sure we keep the bad guys away from them in the schools while they're at school doing work, to make sure that they're secure in the school sites.
I feel appreciated as an employee. I really feel that they incorporate us in the daily activities or acknowledgments of things that we do. And I'm NOLA proud.
Not only adults eat with their eyes, we know kids eat with their eyes. So we try to make it very colorful and pretty, and we make sure at all times that is a nutrition and balanced meal.
My passion has always been kids, and the school board's motto of kids first, that pretty much aligns with my values. It's always about the kids. So that's what's my drive. It keeps me coming day by day, wanting to get up to do my job. And I'm NOLA proud.
Everything. Everything. They really do. I just love to see the expression on their little faces when they come down a line saying, oh, Miss Cookie, oh, Miss Cookie. Some of them say, oh, this just like Piccadilly. We could just go down the line and get what we want. You know, I love it. I really do. Mm-hmm.
Thank you again to our NOLA PS staff for all your hard work and dedication. We will continue to celebrate service milestones each month. As you can see in the video, many of our longest serving staff members represent the child nutrition team. This week, in schools across the district, we are celebrating National School Lunch Week, where we are highlighting the importance of a healthy school lunch in a child's life. It's not just about the importance of the meals themselves, but about the tireless effort of our food service professionals who have been working day in and day out to make sure healthy, nutritious meals are available to all of our students. Throughout the pandemic, our food service staff kept working to ensure that even when learning was happening remotely, students could still receive nutritious, safely packaged meals. We are so thankful for the service of our food service staff and for the healthy meals they provide to our students that fuel their learning. I also want to celebrate a special group of people that have been so valuable to us, our principals. October is National Principal Month. I want to welcome all members of our community and joining me to thank our amazing principals and school leaders for the work they do day in and day out to give our students the best education possible. Today, Board President Ashley and I had the opportunity to visit Mr. Jarrell Bryant, principal of George Washington Carver High School, to honor him for his selection as the 2021 Louisiana State Principal of the Year. On the screen now are a few photos from our visit with Mr. Bryant. Congratulations for this distinguished honor. A principal's job is never easy, but especially in the midst of this pandemic. They have been putting in extra hours and burning the candle at both ends to provide students with good education during this unprecedented time. I cannot say enough about the hard work, the dedication, and flexibility of our principals throughout this time. They have had to pivot so many times while working hard to meet the needs of our students and families, teachers, and our staff. To each of our NOLA PS principals, you are appreciated, and we thank you for all you do every single day for our students and for our families. And finally, I want to close my report tonight with something exciting for our students. As I mentioned, students are back in school and are eager to learn with their teachers. Attendance is a very important part of making sure students can learn and grow. I'd like to welcome my friend and brother, Troy Duhan, to make a special presentation at this time.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
You know, what's amazing is I realize how old I'm getting because 14 years ago, I met with Ms. Landrew to talk about this idea. This will be our 13th or 14th car that we've given away, which is amazing. I would have never thought that 13 years later, I'm still giving away a brand new car. That's amazing. And a lot of listeners probably don't know this, but we started this right after Katrina, and now they are doing this in 29 other states. So it's really exciting that something got birthed out of Katrina that's positively touching the United States. But we're excited. This is going to be our 13th or 14th year. That probably values around $250,000 worth of brand new cars we've given away to really inspire kids to understand that life is truly about just being committed. And so we hope the teachers and the principals really push this, because I tell these kids who come to the dealerships, who make the finals, that their grades are important, but their commitment is going to determine their success in life. There are a lot of A students who work for C students because the C students are committed with character. So it's my pleasure to announce it's either our 13th, Dr. Lewis, or our 14th year. Like I said, I remember meeting with Ms. Landrew back in, I think it was 2006 or 2007. So I'm excited to do it again. The whole dealership group is excited, and we look forward to a great year. And we hope we get the support of the principals and the school teachers to really inspire these kids to understand the value of commitment.
Yes, Troy, thank you again for your commitment to our students here each year with the Perfect Attendance Awards and all the partners that you bring together to bring this special recognition to our students. It's very, very exciting each year. And we also want to thank you because you had to pivot as well to do the drawing this year. And so you, your team, and whoever else was involved to make it happen, it was still a stellar event. And we want to thank you for, again, making it happen even in the midst of COVID-19. We really appreciate this partnership and what you all do, not even just with the car, but the things that are done in our community each and every day. We really appreciate you.
No, it means a lot. You know what? At the end of the day, no one's going to remember how many cars I sold, but hopefully they remember the people we feed and the cars we give away.
That's right. And again, we appreciate you. In closing this evening, as I end my report, I just want to remind our community that we have a NOLA PS hotline. And so a lot has been going on. We have a lot of progress, but if there are concerns, and if anyone want to reach out to the school district directly, you can do that. But also we have this hotline that's very easy for us to remember, and it's 522-HELP. And so if you want to reach out, if you have concerns that you feel that need to be addressed, you have concerns from the school and may have not been addressed or what have you, we are here as a community to get through this unprecedented time together. I cannot say this enough, but again, the number is 522-HELP. And at this time, Mr. President, this concludes my report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we're moving on to action items, and I'll yield to Board Counsel.
Yes, we're at item 4.3, resolution number 33-20, approving Liberty Bank and Trust as an additional depository. It is recommended that the Orleans Parish School Board adopts resolution 33-20, approving Liberty Bank and Trust as an additional depository of Orleans Parish School Board funds, and designate certain personnel of the Orleans Parish School Board to execute banking documents and exercise certain powers to conduct transactions with Liberty Bank and Trust on behalf of the Orleans Parish School Board. May I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Waive the reading.
A motion by Mr. Brown, a second by Mr. Koppel. Do we have any public comments? Any questions from the board?
I'd like to ask one question. Well, it's not a question, but I'd like to ask the superintendent to give us a report at the next meeting as to how much we have and what banks do we have those funds. I'd like to see a report on that.
Yes, we'll do that update during the committee meeting.
Thank you.
The financial reports, no problem.
Great.
Any other questions? If not, we're at roll call. Mr. Ashley?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Koppel?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Ms. Newell-Houston?
Yes.
That item passes.
Yes.
We're at item 4.5. We're at item 4.5, request for proposal number 21-0010, University Pipeline Services. It is recommended that the Orleans Parish School Board approves the proposal meeting the specifications, terms, and conditions for University Pipeline Services from Xavier University in the amount of $225,000 for University Pipeline Services for a contract period of 1 year, with the 2 one-year optional renewals, subject to board approval, and authorizes general counsel to prepare a contract for signatures of the board president and the contractor. May I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Waiving the reading of the resolution. Second.
And a second by Ms. Jackson, a motion by Mr. Koppel, a second by Ms. Jackson. We have one public comment on this.
Yes. Renee Ascar, if you could please engage the raise hand feature. Thank you. State your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Renee Akbar. My address is 4109 Claremont Drive, New Orleans, Louisiana. And I just wanted to say that we're very excited about this motion to be passed tonight. We are very excited about the work that we've been doing in Orleans Parish. We're very grateful that you all have entrusted us to do this work. We have been very successful in the last 4 years in bringing in about 75% of the teachers that we brought in are teachers of color. We do attract a lot of white students also to our residency program. So we do a lot of development with all of our students to be the best teachers they possibly can be for the children of New Orleans. We've had an 80% retention rate. We've had a 127% increase in our enrollment over the last 4 years. 92% of our residents plan to teach in the city for 5 to 8 years. And 100% of our residents said that our program is of the highest value. So we hope that we will be able to continue this relationship for a very, very long time. We see this as our sacred duty. It makes us very NOLA proud to be a part of the Orleans Parish School Board family and community. And we will continue to pledge to do all that we can to put the best teachers in front of the students in New Orleans. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Akbar.
That was our last comment card on that item. Any questions from the board?
No comment, Council. Just want to thank Dr. Akbar for the great work they're doing. Certainly makes a difference if we can continue to attract good teachers and to retain them. That's important. We've been losing far too many teachers each year,
hopefully we can turn that around going forward. But I'd like to thank Dr. Akbar for their work.
Any other comments from the board? If not, we're at roll call. Mr. Ashley.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Ms. Ellison.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Koppel.
Yes.
Mr. Marshall.
Yes.
Ms. Newell Houston.
Yes.
That item passes. We're now at item 4.14, request for conflict waiver regarding Phelps Dunbar LLP. It is recommended that the Orleans Parish School Board waives any potential conflict of interest arising from Phelps Dunbar LLP's representation of the OPSB, while also representing Travelers Casualty and Surety Company of America, the general contractor surety for the Lusher Refurbishment Project, and authorizes the General Counsel to execute the necessary documents to effect such a waiver. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
The motion by Mr. Koppel, a second by Ms. Newell Houston. Do we have any public comments?
No.
Any questions or comments from the board? If not, we're at roll call. Mr. Ashley.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Ms. Ellison.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Koppel.
Yes.
Mr. Marshall.
Yes.
Ms. Newell Houston.
Yes.
That item passes. We're now at item 5, Mr. Ashley.
Wait, did we did the consent agenda?
No, we did not. We need to vote on it, I believe.
Yes.
Let's see. You are correct. We voted on adopting the agenda. However, we need to vote to actually pass it. Can I have a motion?
Move to adopt an agenda as discussed in earlier.
Second.
We have a motion to adopt consent agenda and a second, which includes items 4.1, 4.2, 4.4, 4.6, 4.7, 4.8, 4.9, 4.10, 4.11, 4.12, and 4.13. Is there any public comment on that item?
No.
Any questions or comments from the board? If not, we're at roll call. Mr. Ashley.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Ms. Ellison.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Koppel.
Yes.
Mr. Marshall.
Yes.
Ms. Newell Houston.
Yes.
That item passes.
Thank you. I know the time now is 6:08 p.m. May I have a motion to move into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Koppel, a second by Ms. Ellison. I'll yield to board counsel for roll call.
Mr. Ashley.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Ms. Ellison.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Koppel.
Yes.
Mr. Marshall.
Yes.
Ms. Newell Houston.
Yes, and I need the information sent to me again for calling into exec session.
Okay.
I do as well.
So do I.
Okay.
I do as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. We'll now move into executive session. All right. All right, calling back to order the October 22nd, 2020 Orleans Parish School Board meeting. The time now is 6:24 p.m. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Ashley?
Present.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Ellison?
Here.
Ms. Jackson?
Here.
Mr. Koppel?
Present.
Mr. Marshall?
Here.
Ms. Newell Houston?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I think we're at 5. We're at executive session. Board Counsel, are you going to handle 5.1 and 5.2?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, Mr. Ashley. The board convened an executive session to discuss item 5.1, Darnett Daniels et al. Versus State of Louisiana, Civil District Court number 2019-6895. A status report was provided and there is no action to be taken at this time. The board also convened an executive session to discuss item 5.2, Shalonda Jackson versus Orleans Parish School Board, Office of Workers' Compensation number 20-00319. It is recommended that the Orleans Parish School Board approves the settlement of the matter as by its legal. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Koppel, a second by Mr. Ashley. I don't believe we have any comment cards on this item. Any questions from the board? If not, we're at roll call. Mr. Ashley?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Ellison?
Recuse myself.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Koppel?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Ms. Newell Houston?
Yes.
That item passes 6 and 1 recusal. And with that, we're at 6.1.
Thank you. There are no further items on the agenda. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Before, President Ashley, before we join, we had 2 speakers at the beginning who I think made some important observations as it relates to COVID and our schools' operations and so on. Is it possible for me to get a record of those comments, recommendations, suggestions, and so on?
Mr. Brown, I believe that they are in the record. They've been added into the chat base, and so we'll make sure that you get that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Send it to me as well, please.
Will do.
The same, please, Ashley. Thank you.
Certainly. We'll send it to all of my colleagues. With that said, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
By Mr. Koppel, second by Ms. Ellison. I'll yield to Board Counsel at this time for a roll call vote.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Ellison?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Koppel?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Ms. Newell Houston?
Yes.
That item.
Great. The time now is 6:27 p.m. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you guys so much. Be safe. And if you haven't voted, go vote.
Be safe. Good night.
You all, good night.
Good night.